Sport Fishing on the Fly is brought to you by Maui Jim Sunglasses. First Tellurium Corp., the future of mining. And Hardy Rods and Reels.
Good day, folks. Today on the bench I'm going to tie up a simple streamer. I know a lot of patterns sometimes get a little complicated, some of the materials or the tying methods or whatever for beginners. This is a real simple streamer. Anyone can tie pretty much. I'm going to go over some nice materials. The Cashmere monkey that the folks at SFlash have makes great winging material. You can see the I've got 3 different colors in here. It layers really nice. It's easy to use. These flies are in the vise are wet right now. I just wanted to show you how they look kind of wet. We'll tie it dry though for you. But the wings always retain their shape is really what I wanted to get across to you on this one. This is size 2. This is size 8. You can go to all kinds of sizes with this. Sometimes when we're using bucktails and other hair and that, it gets a little difficult when you get down to the smaller flies like this, but you can get some really nice neat little streamers, which a lot of times you go to number 8s not to match your bait fish in your water. So could be a little brown trout or whatever. I just grabbed 3 colors to show you how to blend these and or separate them actually. So let's get hook in the vise. We'll get started here. I'll show you the materials we'll use to tie the fly. I'm going to be using a streamer hook. This is size 2. For the throat, I'm just going to use, this is some bass saltwater neck here. Just some nice webby hackle. You can use whatever you have for the throat, red or orange, whatever you like. The body itself is going to be the SFlash Cashmere monkey. I'm going to be using gray. And then I'll be using some sunburst orange and then some copper on the top. Really nice thin material, really nice to work with. We'll use just a little accent. I'm going to add a little more to this one, some crystal flash. And let's throw a little topping on there just to show you what this is all about, the Gaula and green blend. It's really a nice kind of a substitute, I would say, for peacock herl. It's going to be very durable. So those of you, if you're trout fishermen or bass or whatever you fish, streamer fishing is an overlooked method by many anglers, and most of your bigger fish, or a lot of your best fish, are going to be taken on streamers. Also, they have another little add-on here, jungle cock. This is synthetic jungle cock, which is hard to find. You don't have to buy the complete capes, which are very expensive. This is a nice synthetic. And then we'll just use some crystal chenille here for the body. So I'll show you how to wrap this one up. It's really, really simple. And that is good. I remember like starting out too, sometimes we get kind of overwhelmed by some of the materials or methods and so forth. A lot of us on the internet are kind of bad for that. We're always showing new stuff and new methods, and we kind of leave the newcomers behind a little bit on some of that. So this is one I want to show you how easy it is for anyone. We just tie in our chenille at the rear after I put a little thread base on my hook. Keep my turns nice and tight. My chenille makes a good underbody. Nice and simple. We leave a little room at the eye. Leave a little space there. We don't want to crowd your eye. That's the biggest concern with a lot of mistakes that most tyers make for many years. So we'll come in here with some of this gray. It's kind of a silver wolf. What do they call this? Silver wolf or something? I'm going to use that on the bottom. I'm just going to get this is really, really fine fibers. You won't find hair that fine. And where it's going to be that easy to work with. Now I want to taper these ends out. I'm using a pretty big fly here. We would cut that down again if I was going to the size 8. So I'm going to taper that down. I'm going to dress this one a little heavier than the one I showed you. Tie that on top. Bring this over. very slippery. You want to make sure you get some good turns. I'm using 6/0 thread, just some wax thread. So you've got your wing kind of taper there. You'll see kind of a natural taper there because I've tapered in my hand. The ends are not straight. They're not blunt. You don't want that. And we're going to add a little bit of our sunburst orange. I got a little piece left over from my last fly. I'm going to use it just for a little accent. Tie it right behind the eye again. Come back to where I'm at the back of the head right there. That's the front of the head, that's the back of the head. Pull it over, and it really folds, and it's pretty easy to use. And this kind of comes over just a little bit longer, as you can see, over the top. Now we'll bring in our copper color. A piece of that. Fold it in half. Again, and make sure we have our, nothing really too blunt there. It's going to got a pretty good taper. Make sure it's tapered on both ends. Measure it out. Get it on the front of the head. Bring it back there. Now these are stacking. They're separating really nice. You can bring this back now over the top. And that, it'll want to kind of marry, which means it'll form one wing, which is what you want. You see this is getting a little bit blunt. You can just take your scissors and kind of just narrow that up a little bit. There you go. Gets a little more of a shape I'm looking for. And you can also, if you want to do a bunch of these, you can get thinning shears. That even shapes it even a little bit more if you like. Thinning scissors for tapering. But it gives a nice, pretty nice wing there. Pretty easy to use too, isn't it? So fly tying can be a lot of fun without getting really complicated. And when you're starting out, it's kind of frustrating at times getting on some of those materials or methods. Come in here with some little bit of pearl. Let's add a little bit of that on the side. Just give it a little bit of accent. Trick it out a little bit. Show you how easy it is. Tie that in, so that gives it a really nice bait fish look once in the water. Looks good. And don't use too much on the flash. Sometimes we get a little bit over top with that stuff. Pretty easy. I'm just going to take 2 strands of this peacock. It's a Gaula and green blend. It's one of the colors I would recommend for your bench because it's something I use a lot. Peacock kind of substitute, and this fly is going to be super durable. It's not using any natural materials. It's all the new Semperfli stuff. And look at that. It looks just like a peacock. Looks really good for topping. They call that the topping. All right. Now we're going to bring in our little bit of our throat. Grab a hackle on the side here. You can use red, or I'm just going to use orange. This is kind of a pale orange to match kind of the pattern. I'm going to be tying this more like for say a baby brown trout. Pinch it off the sides. And turn my hook upside down. Trim that off, and then just get back to the rear of the head. I want to put a little more on that. That'd be enough for a smaller fly. This is a pretty big one. This number 2. It's a good idea too when you're starting your tying. Tie bigger patterns. Like, don't start with number 16s and 20s and stuff. Learn how to tie them larger, and then it'll be easier when you get down to the smaller sizes. Sometimes we bite off more than we can chew. I'm going to come in right behind the eye with my thread. Make sure I cover up all the ends of my materials so I don't see any color. Getting a little bit of that copper showing through right there. I take my thumbnail and I'm just kind of guiding my thread on with that. There. Get that all covered up. You You can use head cement if you have on that part of the pattern, or want to do a really nice job, get yourself some UV resin. Give that a coat. It's really nice and shiny. Really is a really nice head. We want the head kind of nice and neat, pretty looking. There we go. And then we hit that with a UV torch. Some we'll use quite a bit nowadays. This UV is very, very handy for so many functions in your fly tying, so I want to consider one of those some point. Okay, that's a pretty simple bait fish pattern, and turned out really well. We have the materials kind of stacked. We got the colors separated, but they form one wing. Hard to do. We got the nice little bit of flash in there. So you throw that at some big bull trout, or any species that can be holding bull trout, or brown trout. That's kind of coloration there. So you go and look at on your pattern books, or go online. There's all kinds of patterns and colors and so forth. And I'd like to wish you all the best in your fly tying adventure, because it's never ending. There's thousands and thousands of patterns to learn to tie, and check back with us real soon. Thanks for watching.